Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video of Race Week. This is the series where I bring you the best and more frequently the worst of what social media has to offer over the course of a race week. Although if you are the Mercedes team admin, then of course this series is known as Raw Seek. One fan of course decided to point out that it was actually a double header, but of course though in the Ferrari style of Douhe Bledder. And so to the Portuguese Grand Prix then, which was just called the Portuguese Grand Prix after the Portuguese Tourist Board decided not to rename the Grand Prix to the whatever it is, made in Portugal, come to Lisbon whatever Grand Prix, because Portugal realised that they've already got too many expatriates in the country already, and having any more will be a drain to their resources. It was a comfortable win in the end then for Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes looked far too strong, mostly due to the strong winds at Portimao, which was affecting the Red Bull down the straights. Verstappen spent many a lap behind Valtteri Bottas, and only when the Finn made a mistake on his cold tyres at turn 3 was Verstappen able to pass Bottas. Hamilton initially fell behind Verstappen after the safety car restart, but then used the DRS to eventually get past Verstappen and then his teammate. Bottas fell to P3 in the end after a system failure cost him 5 seconds to Verstappen. Verstappen though was being caught by Bottas at some point, and it would have been interesting to see in the final few laps whether or not Verstappen could have been overtaken by Bottas. As it happens, Bottas did get his own back because Verstappen then against extended track limits in his attempt to get fastest lap on the final lap. This of course got his lap time disqualified and the point actually went to Bottas, something that could help define the championship if it comes close. But this is the thing, I still think we've yet to see Hamilton and Verstappen properly battle it out. We've seen glimpses of what can happen. Obviously, it was a little bit too simple at Portimao. Hamilton had far too much straight line speed with the DRS over Verstappen in the Honda power unit, which was proven by the fact that Verstappen got stuck behind Bottas for many laps. But at the same time, at the previous Grand Prix, we've also yet to see. I mean, we had that one moment at Bahrain where Verstappen was catching Hamilton, and then obviously track extended, and after that Verstappen's tyres fell off the cliff. In Imola, we never got to see that either because Hamilton pit stop got blocked because Giovinazzi was coming into the pit. So we're properly yet to see them go toe to toe, have a proper big old battle, swapping positions lap after lap. For P1 of the Grand Prix. Will we see that this year? We'll have to wait and see. Mercedes though definitely look like they brought upgrades and have managed to fix the instability of the rear that was seen at Bahrain in pre-season testing. But Red Bull have made improvements as well, and they're not a million miles away from the pace of Mercedes. But if one decides to not upgrade, because of course 2022 is a new set of regulations, then this could be costly for either one in their attempt to win the World Championship. Behind the top three came Sergio Perez. Perez did a very long stint on medium tyres, 51 laps, one of the longest stints in the Grand Prix after including Lance Stroll, who also did 40 laps on his set with soft tyres for then failing to gain a championship point. For Perez though, the damage had already been done in the opening stages. He fell behind Carlos Sainz on the race start and then fell behind Lando Norris. He felt that Norris had actually illegally overtaken him, but then Norris, of course, his tyres eventually went off and had to cede the place to the Red Bull driver. Perez, of course, could have backed Hamilton up, but of course later Christian Horner, while being interviewed on the pit wall by Sky commentators David Croft and Martin Brundle, said that it would not have been sporting to hold Hamilton up. But at this rate you could have asked why had they left Perez out so long? If the strategy was to pit for the soft tyres, surely Perez, being Perez, and the fact that he has the ability to, in the past, take tyres as long as they have been and get results out of it, Why did not they not pit him as planned? His engineer said they were doing 10 more laps on the medium tyres over the radio, meaning that he was scheduled to do 10 more laps than that was needed on the medium tyres. In my opinion, that was 10 wasteful laps that he could have at least potentially have caught, used those tyres to see what the pace was like. Behind Perez came Lando Norris. Norris actually had the overtake of the week, round the outside of Ocon, coming through the middle sector. It was a good race for Norris, even though it was a quiet one for the British driver. Of course, he did have a little bit of a battle with Carlos Sainz after his pit stop, but Sainz then fell away from the back of Norris. Sainz actually finished outside the top 10, and I was surprised to see how fast Sainz actually fell, considering the fact he was right up the rear diffuser of Max Verstappen on the safety car restart, and then fell all the way down to 11th place. There was also a good drive from Daniel Ricciardo after a poor qualifying. The Australian pulled off a series of moves to finish in the top 10, P9, after initially starting P16 and struggling through the opening laps. The hard tyre definitely seemed to have some pace over the ageing mediums.
I am stupid. I am stupid.
Now it is time for I'm Stupid. This is the segment in the show where we take a look at somebody's done something really stupid over the course of a race weekend. Now there are a couple of candidates for this week, but I think we definitely have to take a look at Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi drove into the back of his teammate Giovinazzi and broke his front wing off, and it was all his own damage, the fact that he managed to cause his own exit from the race. So yes, Kimi joins the club. There's also a special I Am Dangerous award to Nikita Mazepin, because Mazepin got himself very let's just say he blocked off Perez trying to lap him. Perez actually had to lock up his tyres in order to not be able to go into the back of him. And this is the thing, we've got to wonder, how many more incidents are we going to have on track before this person is banned? Because he is just dangerous. He spins everywhere, and he's made so many collisions. It's unbelievable. It's only a matter of time before we have a bigger accident caused by Mazepin. Of course, F1 has banned drivers into the past. Yuji Ide, for example, he flipped Christian Albers on his roof. I think that was 2007 or 6. And he got banned after 4 races. So, we never know. We could see a ban for Mazepin. But fingers crossed that we do. He is also pretty slow as well, so if Mercedes and Red Bull do improve, and obviously we know the Haas isn't improving throughout the course of this season, then we could also see him fail to qualify. I'd love to see that as well happen to him. But yes, moving on now to, if you may have seen some glitches of F1 2020, then don't worry, the helicopter glitch is actually realistic, with the helicopter flying very low over the track. I'm sure it's appearing on firstly in pre-practice and then later on during the race. There was also news earlier about F1 releasing how the sprint qualifying weekend will how to work. Now, I'm not going to dwell on too much about this, but I don't think that it will stay personally. Even if Ross Brawn has already said, even if it isn't a success, it's still not going to be at every weekend. I mean, imagine having sprint qualifying at tracks like Monaco. Sprint races really well at Monaco, so it's not really going to work. Obviously, most of the teams are worried about if they're going to be able to recover the cars or not ahead of if let's say they have a crash, then they need, obviously that's going to add more money, especially for those teams that are lower down that don't have those resources to be able to fix the cars between the races maybe, and having the extra cost of not being able to fix the car in time for the actual Grand Prix. And unfortunately, at the Portuguese Grand Prix, Williams now racked up an unwanted stat of having 30 races in a row without a point. Bearing in mind that the last time they got a point, I had an issue, an apology, we don't talk about that. And the final bit of news, of course, is about the Turkish Grand Prix, which has been replacing the Canadian Grand Prix. Personally, I'd love to see them have a good race that we had last year, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll see if the Turkish Grand Prix owners decide to re-tarmac or not. And that is where I'm going to leave it today's episode of Race Week. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. See plenty more episodes of Race Week as and when they come out. Until the next video, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your day, and goodbye.